Not a great day out at Buffalo Bills training camp. I'm Kevin Carroll. Welcome to the Buffalo End Zone podcast along with Andy Young. The injuries pile up and we had a doozy today, Andy.
Yeah, what appears to be the worst one yet, potentially, Maxwell Hairston, the rookie first-round draft pick, defensive back, battling for a starting job, goes out with what appeared to be a leg injury, possibly a knee injury. We don't have any official word from the Bills on the nature or extent of the injury, but Kevin, you were over there when it happened. Take us through what you saw out there with Maxwell Hairston.
Yeah, so it happened really fast. It was a non-contact injury as the defensive backs were just doing their individual drills where they backpedal and then someone throws them a ball and stuff like that. So I was actually paying attention to Joe Andreessen and the linebackers at the time when, there was a lot of moving around and everyone moving back towards commotion. That's the word, Andy. Towards the defensive backs. And I'm looking around. There are injured players with trainers down at the far end of the side field where the defensive backs were. And I looked down and I saw the tail end of a trainer helping Maxwell Hairston up. And the video I got was they were pointing at his knee. I think it was his right knee off the top of my head. So, again, we don't know what it is. So I'm not going to say that 100% sure I know what it is. But that's what it looked like to me. And it looked like a lot of frustration and some pain on Hairston as he was walking off the field. He needed the help of the trainer, Andy. He couldn't walk off the field himself. So that's never a good sign when you see a player not being able to walk off under their own power. The walk from where the DBs were to the medical tent was fairly long, but he made the walk with that trainer, turned the corner, went into the medical tent. We didn't see him after that. And like you just said already, we don't know what the status is, how bad it is, and what the next few steps are going to be. So as we record this podcast, things could change. But right now, Hairston leaving with a leg injury, not returning. To me, initially, this does not look great.
Yeah, I saw some reports from some of our media colleagues who were in the same vicinity as you were at the time and saw teammates gathered around Maxwell Hairston, Tre'Davious White, Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, and the like, fellow defensive backs. Obviously, watching the video that you gathered where head athletic trainer Nate Bresky is almost, it looked like consoling Hairston as he walked off the field. I mean, I know he's helping him off the field, but Hairston, did not look like he was in good spirits at that point. And how could you be when you potentially suffered a leg injury of some type? And yeah, the walk from that end of the field where the DBs practice on the side or back field at St. John Fisher towards the medical tent, it's probably a couple of 100 yards. And it was very slow moving for him as he walked with his arm over the shoulder of head athletic trainer Nate Bresky. So that was not a good sign. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor this situation. If the Bills give us an update in the next couple of days, we'll get it out there for you, and we'll see what the exact extent and nature of the injury is for Maxwell Hairston, who had an up and down camp. I think he'd been solid overall. He's in that battle with Trey White, and I think Trey White, at least at the moment, had the edge. He was getting a little bit more of the first team reps with the first guy out there. But that wasn't to say that Hairston couldn't continue to improve and take that starting cornerback job. So obviously you don't want to see anybody go down, and to have your rookie first-round draft pick, that's not good news for the Bills.
Yeah, you just hope for the best for the rookie, that this isn't as bad as it looks. But brace yourself that, this could be as bad as it looks. And now it looks like bringing in Trey White might have been the best security blanket the Bills could have ever thought of after, drafting the rookie in the first round and looking like he was going to be the future along with Christian Benford. But that's all up in the air now, Andy, and we're recording this on a Tuesday. The Bills return to practice on a Thursday, and then they have that Friday night scrimmage at the stadium. And I don't think we're going to hear from head coach Sean McDermott for a while, and I don't think Bobby Babich gives injury updates when he talks to the media. So I'm sure the NFL insiders that are out there, something's going to come out at some point, Andy. So it's just something to keep an eye on. But you're right. We had every intention to talk about the Tre'Davious White, Max Hairston battle that's going on right now. And it looked like at this time, as we approached this practice, that Trey did have the upper hand, that Hairston was going to have to do something to take the job away from him. Now, who knows what happens once the season goes on, but for our purposes, out of training camp, it was a pretty even battle. But at this point right now, you have the veteran, Tre'Davious White. You have Dane Jackson that was brought in, a veteran in this Bills system as well. So we could be looking at that at least in the near future as we move forward. And I will say this. I know we're talking about an injury, Andy, but Trey White has looked good. Towards the end of practice today, a bomb to Josh Palmer down the sideline. Trey made up ground. Great. And batted the ball away at the last second. So I got to see that towards the end of practice, and it was like Trey might be in the best condition as far as being a Bill he's been in a while, and looks the part right now.
I do think as we kind of wait word on the extent of Hairston's injuries, you might see, like you said, reports from national media, the Schefters and Rappaports and Pelissero types. But the Bills have been pretty good during this stretch of training camp this year about sending out updates to the local media, which is nice. So hopefully, they continued with that practice, and we do hear from Bills PR as far as the extent of the injuries, and we'll continue to keep our ears to the ground. And if I hear anything, Kevin, if you hear anything, of course we'll report that sort of stuff. But back to your point about Tre'Davious White.
Wait, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
This happening with the Hard Knocks cameras there.
Yeah.
So
didn't even think about that part of it.
So I'm sure this is depending on but this will definitely be a part of Hard Knocks. I'm assuming it's the first episode, but you get your first round pick goes down second day of pads, and it wasn't even an incident where someone, was like a tackling incident where he did something. So it just stinks. But go on. But I'm sure it'll be there.
Yeah, I saw our friend and friend of this show, Elena Getzenberg from ESPN, who does a fantastic job, actually spoke. I think Joe Biscaglia from The Athletic as well also spoke to Dane Jackson after practice, and he said it was a non-contact freak kind of injury, freak situation where I think they were doing maybe pass rush drills, which, sometimes defensive backs blitz and they practice those sort of things. But it was just individually, right? Just the guy lines up and sprints in towards a would-be quarterback, and it sounds like from those reports and what Dane Jackson told them that he went down, and it was kind of a freak thing. So you hate to see that, especially with non-contact injuries. That is always tough, and that always raises the alarm on what that could potentially be. Now, as far as Trey White goes, thinking about the way that he has played throughout this camp has to give Bills fans solace at this point. A lot of people kind of thought, all right, Trey, it's a nice story. He's healthy after the injuries, but he's 30 years old, and he's making another run at it with the team that drafted him, and he wants to be a mentor to Max Hairston. Well, guess what? Trey has looked very good, and he was not just handing that job to Max Hairston, as evidenced by the way that snaps had gone, the way the reps had gone for first and second team reps so far. And I think Trey has looked the part. He's got some of that athleticism and closing quickness back that he had a few years ago when he was an all-pro type of player before those devastating injuries. I'm not suggesting that he's going to be an all-pro again and that Father Time doesn't catch up with him and injuries haven't caught up with him, but he does look much better and looks like a guy who can be a solid player for the Bills and was not just going to relinquish that job to Max Hairston. And so now you have Trey White, you have Dane Jackson. I think rookie Dorian Strong is another guy who can fit into this mix. And I think Jamarcus Ingram, who's been here for a while now, can fit into this mix. And that's the good part about this. You hate to see an injury, but the Bills actually, for once, did seemingly have some depth at cornerback to withstand something like this. And you hate to see it with the first round pick, but Trey White has been very good so far in camp. And I think Dane Jackson is reliable. He knows the system. You know what you're going to get with him. Jamarcus Ingram has had some moments and is very versatile. And I really do like what Dorian Strong has brought throughout the course of this camp and through the spring. So I think there is some relief or solace in that fact that they do have some depth to sort of withstand a devastating injury right now. Now, do you want them to keep adding up? Do you want that to keep happening? No, and I think we'll get more into the other injuries too that are really piling up for the Bills right now.
Yeah, last thing I'll say on this, Andy, is going into this offseason, cornerback 2 across from Christian Benford was the big concern because the cornerback room, Andy, was lackluster and was an issue for the Bills last year. And then that's why they go out and they draft Maxwell Hairston, and then you bring in Trey White, and then you bring in Dane Jackson, and now everyone's like, all right, well, the cornerback room is pretty impressive right now. And then this happens, and as you said, you have the bodies there for an insurance policy from something like this happen. But like you were saying, this is just a long list of injuries all over the place, Andy.
Yeah,
And
really
to
is.
shift gears a little bit, the pass catchers. I mean, we look at the tight end, but the wide receivers are dealing with the injury bug as well. And that's piling up. And I don't recall ever seeing or maybe something close, but really anything like this where I think we were I think it was Friday on the podcast. I was like, the weird thing is when we return to practice on Sunday, there'll be other injuries that are going to pop up, I'm sure. And it's just like a daily thing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the way this all started with Dawson Knox on the non-football injury list. Spencer Brown still has not practiced. Knox was removed from that list, but he still hasn't practiced. Dalton Kincaid was out for a day with knee soreness. Tyler Bass, you talked about the pass catchers, wide receivers. Curtis Samuel has missed some time. Elijah Moore has missed some time. Rookie Caden Prather missing time. And so they're down to you've got Keon Coleman and you've got Joshua Palmer and you've got Khalil Shakir as your main guys right now. And then you've got just a bunch of other bodies at this point because they're beat up in that department. I mean, they signed Deion Kane back and brought him back into the fold. You've got Wilkinson and you got a few other different names out there. Hamler's banged up. So to see this injury list pile up, I mean, it's tough. I don't know that any of them are long-term. I mean, we're talking about Hairston. That could be an issue. And Spencer Brown is concerning, too, because of his back and history of back problems.
I was going to bring that up.
At all yet. But overall, just to see, the Bills are cautious with injuries, no doubt about it. This is the time of year to be cautious, to make sure, all right, this guy's got a little nick. This guy's sore here. This guy's got a pull. Let's just take it easy on guys. But it's honestly, in some ways, when you have 91 on a roster, but 16 or 18 of them are hurt, that's hard to have a full regular practice like you want to have. So that's got to be concerning for Sean McDermott and company. And I don't think there's anything you can really do about it. There's nothing you can blame. The heat has been oppressive out here. I don't know if that has anything to do with some of this. There's been a couple of guys out with heat exhaustion or heat illness, whatever it might be, that have taken breaks, either coming out of practice or didn't practice at all, because it has been sweltering. It's been 90 degrees. It's been very humid all of camp. There hasn't been really a break from it other than it rained one day, and that took, the humidity away for a few minutes, and then as soon as it stopped, it was like you're walking around in a warm bathtub. But I don't know how to explain it. It's tough. It's things to deal with, and It gets guys reps. That's the one silver lining of it all, is that some young guys or backups are going to get valuable reps right now that they might not otherwise have gotten. But generally, to have this many guys hurt this early in camp, you're not even really a full week in yet, is not ideal for Sean McDermott and company.
I'm paraphrasing here. This isn't a quote, but Joe Brady met with the media before practice started and was asked about how he deals or they're dealing with it. And, he kind of said this stuff, it's football. This stuff can happen now. It can happen during the season. So we're ready for it. We're making sure we have depth at all these positions. So if something happens down the road during the season, we know what we have. We know what position we're in when we go with this. Andy, my big thing is they practice on those grass fields there at Fisher and the grass field at their facility to try and avoid a bunch of injuries. And it's not working.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it would be worse on the Groundy Stadium turf field that they have out there where they used to only practice there. But, I mean, it's just crazy that, some of these non-contact injuries are popping up as much as they are.
And the concern, too, is, like, last year we talked about, like, Curtis Samuel and different guys who the safety position where Damar Hamlin took control because he was really the only healthy guy, where these guys never really fully got off the ground because of injuries. And then that kind of played out and was a theme throughout the season. Like, look at Curtis Samuel. Like, there were a couple of different injuries there that I think really hampered him, and he struggled throughout last season until the very end when I think he was finally healthy, and the Bills were able to unlock that a little bit. So to see these different guys missing extended periods of time is not a good thing for the Bills, no doubt about that, no matter how you spin it with rookies and backups and young guys getting reps, because those starters need reps, right? Like, even the veterans. And to have guys not out there is just not a good situation. And I brought up Spencer Brown. That is starting to make me wonder a little bit. Now, he's been out there in street clothes the last couple of days.
Did you see his outfit today? Good golly.
I did. Go ahead, explain it.
He tucked his T-shirt into his sweatpants and had his sweatpants pulled up really high.
Thanks for the visual.
I was with our buddy John. I've never seen anybody. He looked like he was dressed like an 80-year-old man. But it was funny. I don't know, but it is, to me, I think, I don't know, at the beginning of this, it's, the Bills are being cautious. He's had back problems before. He knows the offense. But, I mean, we're at a point right now where we're not hearing anything. You get Dawson Knox activated, and you're like, all right, they're starting to activate some of these guys who were on the PUP before camp started, but nothing really on Spencer Brown.
Yeah, and, like, he's a huge part of this offense. He has developed, since those injuries, into one of the best tackles at right tackle in the NFL, and has been awesome for them the last couple of years, and has really solidified that spot to have bookend tackles with he and Deion Dawkins. I mean, the Bills' offensive line the last couple of years has been one of the best offensive lines they've ever had, right? And in many years, going back to the Super Bowl years and then the Electric Company and OJ and all those sorts of things, but they've been very good. I mean, allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. We've seen what they've done in the running game, and that's huge. So it just bears keeping an eye on as we get closer and closer to the season. All right, when are they going to ramp him up? And maybe they don't need to until right before the season starts, and they give him a couple of weeks after the preseason ends to get ready to roll. But, I mean, it just bears watching. He could be out there Thursday when we come out. I don't know.
Right.
But, it is mildly concerning that he has not even, been seen jogging or doing anything like that yet.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot's made, and for good reason, that the Bills were bringing back their entire offensive line that protects Josh Allen. And yet that's the outlier right now that we have a question about. I heard Connor McGovern on One Bills Live as I was driving home from camp. He was on with them and just mentioned he has never been part of an offensive line unit that is just exactly the same the following year, and they can build off that. So, I
And
mean,
it's their depth pieces too. Like their backup
right.
offensive line is the same.
Yeah.
Just like their entire running back room is the same. Like there is so much continuity on the offensive side of the ball, minus the two receivers in, two receivers out, and some rookies. Right when we're talking about Moore and Palmer in for Cooper and Hollins, and then you added Prather, the rookie, and some other
Right.
randos. But like man,
Randos. I love that word.
yeah, continuity across the board there. So just bears watching. I mean, defense, they're shuffling in a whole host of new guys. Linebacker position, Terrell Bernard's missed a couple of days now, and that's given
Right.
reps to Balin Spector and Joe Andreessen. But you want to see more from those guys. On a positive note, health wise, a guy who's dealt with a lot of injuries on the linebacker spot, Matt Milano. Man, whew, does he look good out there, right?
Put him in the category with Trey White right now. You had
Yeah,
questions about both dealing with injuries the last few years in both Trey and Matt Milano. I mean, Matt Milano's motor is just full go, and his
yeah.
awareness out there is just, you sit there and watch him and you're like, how could I even question whether this guy was ready to, like, his work ethic is there and he just looks like he's ready to go. Him and Trey both look like they're in good places right now throughout training camp and putting the work in. And Milano has looked like Matt Milano the entire time.
Yeah, he has been lights out. He is everywhere. He and Christian Benford have been my two defensive standouts so far of guys that are just seemingly at a great high level right now. Benford, awesome. He's everywhere. He's ferocious. And Milano is just flying all over. And it seems like every time there's a play in the backfield or a pass to be broken up, Milano is there in his zone. Today, Josh Allen threw a ball on play action intended for Dalton Kincaid on the left side. Allen underthrew it a little bit, and there is Matt Milano. Interception, runs it back down the field. Bobby Babich was fired up saying, all day, that's how we do it, running with Milano down the field. So for Babich to see Milano back, apparently in form that he was before those couple of injuries really robbed him the last two seasons, it's awesome. And you hope that we've talked about having Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano together would be one of the better linebacker duos in the league if they're at full strength and if they are the players they've come to be. Milano's been a question in that regard. Bernard's been banged up a time or two as well, so that also bears monitoring. Dorian Williams has been hurt, another
Mhm.
guy that's been injured throughout training camp, and so that's the story to me. I mean, we've talked about the pass catchers. We've talked about Coleman. We've talked about Palmer and Moore, exciting, that kind of stuff. I mean, heck, doesn't it seem like 2 years ago now that we were talking about James Cook's potential hold in as being the big story of camp?
I know,
That went
right?
away. That went away in a week, didn't it?
Went away in a day. Oh,
Right.
he's here. Bye. Let's.
Right.
Hey, James Cook is here. Next.
Yep. Yeah.
But
So to me, it's been injuries is really kind of becoming the story, but I mean, we've seen good things from Keon Coleman at wide receiver. He has started to stack some days. He had a rough go of it, I think, on Friday perhaps with a couple of drops, but I think Sunday was awesome. One of the best practices I've ever seen him have. Monday was pretty good, and I think he had a decent day today, Tuesday as well. And then Joshua Palmer has been just solid. Like, I really like the player they have in Palmer. I don't know if he's going to be a superstar or anything like that, but I think he's got a chance to do some really good things and be a big part of this Bills offense. Elijah Moore got banged up a little bit too. He's working his way back, but I've liked that as well. And then you add that into what they already had in Samuel and Shakir, and I think wide receiver wise, that group was looking pretty good, injuries aside.
yeah, absolutely. And you see them, at least the healthy ones, when they're. This amazes me. After practicing for, what do we say, an hour and a half, hour, whatever, over an
Yeah,
hour. We'll say
hour
an
and a
hour.
half, couple hours,
To
whatever. Yeah,
see those wide receivers with Josh Allen stay out there and put in more work. You know, you hear people like Palmer say, you know, we go over what we did and if I did this right, and we go back to Josh. And Josh, I mean, he's the reigning MVP, Andy, and he looks even more into the zone than I've seen him at training camp right now. And, it's the playoff games, the MVP and all that, but he really looks like he's next level Josh right now. Maybe if there could even possibly be a next level Josh.
Isn't it funny that, like, Josh Allen is the reigning NFL MVP and he's hardly a story? Just because
It's incredible.
It's just what you expect, right? Like, he talks once a week and we do a story on it then, and he goes out there and throws dimes and lasers and he's good to go. I mean, there have been some moments where a couple of days where he was a little off. First day of camp was a rough go, I think, and then there's been some other times where he wasn't perfectly accurate. I still think that deep ball needs some work, hitting guys in stride on deep balls. But overall, yeah, Josh Allen, he's Josh Allen, which is
and it's funny
perhaps the best player in the NFL.
That's it. That's the Josh Allen report from all of training camp. He's Josh Allen.
Yeah,
we can just
that's
leave
all
it
you
at
need
that.
to know.
We're talking about the linebackers for a second, and you mentioned Joe Andreessen. It was this time last year, the kid from Buffalo was fighting to make a roster. Now he has defensive coordinator Bobby Babich saying he's no longer Buffalo Joe. He's Joe Andreessen, NFL football player. A lot of work with the Bills' second team, Andy, but he's been impressive. He no longer looks like – you and I talked with Joe during the offseason, and we talked about, you still go through training camp. You're still trying to make the roster. But it looks like the Bills really like this guy. And if he keeps impressing and he's pressing Balin Spector to be that next guy throughout training camp, and that's another one of those position things, Joe has looked very impressive as well throughout all of training camp up to this point.
Yeah, I've really been keeping an eye on that position, particularly the order of operation, the order of reps for Spector and Andreessen. And at first, Joe was getting the primary backup reps behind Terrell Bernard at middle linebacker. And so you saw Joe Andreessen be the next guy up. And then when Terrell Bernard went out, they started to rotate Spector in a little more on first team. Joe's getting some first team reps too. So that's interesting to see how that all plays itself out, because Spector, I know they like him, but he just has not been available. He has been hurt constantly throughout his career with the Bills. And so then that says, all right, well, maybe we can just groom the next guy, which is Joe Andreessen. So that's been fun to watch those two kind of go at it. I haven't been overly impressed or unimpressed by either guy. They've been fine, right? Like, if you don't really notice a guy because he's getting beat, that's almost a good thing, because they're just doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Bass missing time really threw me when I heard that Bass was missing time. Just as we start to wrap things up here, I've never heard of a pelvic issue, but I guess as a place kicker, that would be a reason why you couldn't be out there practicing.
Well, if you think about like groin issues, well, however they're terming it, groin or like the abductor muscles, all those things in that area, the lower abdomen into your upper legs, the groin, the thighs, all of that stuff is just critical for kicking. And it comes after he had a 4-for-8 day. I think it was Sunday, right, when it rained. He was struggling. He did not have a good day, and then the next day we hear he's got a pelvis issue. So perhaps that was why he was struggling, because he's dealing with something there. We'll keep monitoring that as well.
I mean, the injury situation is bad when from top to your place kicker,
right?
Everything is hurting at this point. And I mean, they have a little over a week left of training camp at this point, and a few days off here and there.
You've done defense more so the last couple of days, focused on that side. What have you noticed about the defensive line? Because that was one of the top talking points as well coming into this camp. Joey Bosa, the rookies, some of the other guys they signed, Hoyt, etc. What have you noticed about defensive line?
Well, defensive line is Deion Walker's size. I mean, you talk to the guy. That's one thing you notice. I mean, the rookies have been rookies. The times I've been over with the defensive line, it's just been a lot of hitting the dummy and stuff like that. It's, the size of this defensive line is impressive. Andy, Joey Bosa out there, kept an eye on him because he was banged up going into camp, Andy. And there's always that concern that something might flare up. But Bosa's been out there banging away. This was a group that was looked at as they needed to get younger, tougher. They did that through the draft and bringing in bodies. Now it's a matter of them coming together. I know once they throw the pads on, there's more of this, okay, now we can start hitting and whatnot. But the offensive line, Andy, likes to hit too. So I think looking at this younger defensive line, once they got into a spot where the experience Bills offensive line could step in and actually do their job other than just tapping people, we'll see as training camp rolls along now that more stuff is going on.
Yeah, I think I kept a little bit of an eye on Bosa today between doing a host of things. We had a lot going on at camp today and responsibilities and requests and things of that nature. So we were kind of all over the place. But I've been interested to kind of focus in on Bosa a little bit. And I thought he had a nice day. Like he was looking explosive and, getting around that corner and that bend. I mean, a dude that size with that physical pedigree can wreak havoc. And if he can continue to do that, and again with the caveat of staying healthy, if they've got him and Rousseau and then the young guys as a wave behind that, I think that's going to be awesome. I like that. I have seen pretty good stuff out of Ed Oliver. He seems to be moving around pretty well and doing his thing. And then those rookies, Deion Walker has had some nice moments. I think TJ Sanders has had a couple of nice moments. So, I mean, they need all those guys, especially with Hoyt and Ogunjobi both suspended. Hoyt, man, he brings it too. He's got some intensity and some fire out there, and he has wrecked some plays too. Like he's gotten after it. So to watch him has been impressive too, and it's kind of a shame that we're not going to be able to see him on the field in a regular season game until at least week 7.
Right. And I think at this point, Andy, I think most Bills fans are just holding their breath every day when practice starts to hope that everyone's out there. We have this day off in between them returning. The hope is some guys get healthy. I've been watching Dawson Knox run down at the far end of camp, and Elijah Moore
for a week now.
Elijah Moore was down there today, and everyone else is just in non-football stuff. But Elijah Moore had his helmet and pads on while he was down there working with trainers. So it looks like he's good, but you keep waiting. They activated Dawson Knox. I think a lot of people out there figured Dawson Knox would be in the mix, and then all of a sudden Dalton Kincaid was out too. Kincaid comes back, still waiting on Dawson Knox. But
yeah, you talked to Zach Davidson the other day, who's gotten a ton of reps. Him and the rookie Jackson Hawes. I mean, those guys are going to have to make the most of their opportunities with, Kincaid and Knox in and out of the lineup.
He said the right thing. I mean, he was impressive, right? During the preseason last year.
Yeah.
And
people thought he had a chance to make it over Quentin Morris.
Yeah.
That didn't materialize. He's not really a blocking tight end, which is the role they need, which was what Morris had, and then they draft what was thought of as the best blocking tight end in this year's draft class in Hawes. So, could be a tough road for him to make the squad, but he's shown pretty well for himself.
Right, and he said all the right. He's glad to get the reps in. He's glad to be out there, but of course it's not cool to get it due to injury that the guys in front of him are going down. But you talk about Hawes. Man, he looks like he's going to have an impact, or at least a specific role with the Bills as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen them roll out the Alec Anderson jumbo package as much, which leads me to believe that they're going to lean more towards the blocking tight end as that second or third tight end on the field in those packages, who also then can give you some pass catching ability. And he's shown a little bit of that. Like he's caught passes from Josh Allen with first team reps as the blocking tight end so far during training camp. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on as well.
Sean McDermott says he wants this team to be nasty, be physical football players, but to respect the game of football and the other professionals in the game. I think that definitely applies to training camp, and knowing Sean McDermott, that probably applies to even when the regular season starts. But that was the big thing, to be nasty. And I think this team, Andy, from what we've seen so far, can be nasty if they're healthy.
Yeah, they've got some guys that can ride that edge. Taron Johnson brought that up, that you need that nastiness, that very just on the line of being dirty, but you're not dirty. You're not putting a guy's career in jeopardy, but you're going to the whistle. You're getting every piece of contact, every hit you can possibly make, and making your opponent feel it and question whether they want it, right? Mm-hmm. They want a piece of you. And so the more you do that, I think Christian Benford has been that way. He's been very physical in this camp. He's been jawing a little bit with KJ Hamler, and you love to see that in the one-on-ones, and people get fired up. I mean, Alec Anderson, actually, I think Sean McDermott was asked about this. He actually had him leave practice on the first day of pads because he had gone over the line. And Anderson is known as a nasty, gritty, tough player with physicality and a mean streak. You just got to toe the line of what's professional and what's dirty, right?
And there was a bit of a dust up towards the end of practice today, which from
I didn't see it, so right. You got to explain it to me.
So from where I was, it's hard to see because at that portion of practice where I was standing, there are players walking in front of me, but it looked like someone was trying to punch the ball out towards the end of a play, and someone took it. I couldn't see the number. You know, my eyesight is total garbage, right?
I don't see so good.
And I can't see. But
that's a Jerky Boys reference, a deep cut for all you guys out there.
Still love the Jerky Boys. But so, and then the little brawl was at the far end, so it was even further away from where I was. But, you know, it was kind of, benches kind of cleared a little bit. Guys mixed it up a little bit, and then everyone went their own ways. And, you know, I'm sure McDermott addressed it after, but you expect that during training camp, Andy. That's just part of camp. I mean, heck, you're out there. It probably feels like 100 degrees out there. Things are getting chippy, and it's just expected a few times during training camp. And we had it today at the end of practice.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have that, and it's part of it. As long as you're not, you know, ripping off your helmet and swinging at guys, stuff like that. Pushing and shoving, you know, even the occasional slap upside a helmet, which I always thought was stupid. When you punch with a guy wearing a helmet, why are you doing that? That makes no sense. You're just going to break your own hand.
It rings their head a little bit.
I suppose. I mean, I played football, and we did that stuff, but it's just dumb to me.
Yeah. A lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah. Football can lead to that. It's the nature of the beast.
We'll do a little 3 and out before we go, which will just be a 1 and out because I haven't had time to look up more than one topic. But we brought up Happy Gilmore 2 at the end of last week's podcast because our buddy Shooter McGavin returns in it. He, friend of the podcast, has been on with us, so of course we all wanted to see it. I've seen some really bad reviews on it, Andy, and as I've told people, if you're going into Happy Gilmore 2 expecting something that's not totally silly, then just don't watch it and don't complain about it and don't make a big deal of it. It's Adam Sandler's sense of humor. The cameos in it are amazing. And some of the job that the pro golfers do in it is great. Travis Kelce's in it is too. Eminem's in it. I think Bad Bunny's in it. Like, there's cameos up the wazoo throughout the whole thing. And it's just utterly silly. They take a shot at live golf in a way with a new golf league. So if you want to laugh and have a good sense of humor, check it out. It's fun. It's a little under 2 hours. You don't
And
have
it's just stupid comedy, right? It's
right.
just silly. Like, we're making dumb jokes. We're making fun of ourselves, right? Like,
I talked to my dad, and he was like, "Oh my god, I wish I didn't watch it. I couldn't stand it." And I told him, I'm like, "Well, that comedy is not for you as a guy in your mid 70s, right?
yeah,
That comedy is built for we're throwing it back to the stupid 90s and we're being 90s stupid. You know, as
right.
Happy Gilmore the original went on, people started to enjoy it more, but that was dumb when it first came out. This
Yeah,
has a,
just kind of silly and obscene and just like stupid.
and then my dad goes, "Yeah, I guess you're right. Looking back at it, the stuff they did with all the golfers was really cool."
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. That's on the list of things to do when we have a little time off, and maybe tonight. I've had a day. Maybe I'll sit down tonight and watch it.
I will say this isn't a spoiler, but my wife is a big Jordan Spieth fan, and she always refers to him as Spiethy, like in a he's my favorite golfer. Let's just say someone calls him Spiethy in the movie, and my wife lost her mind. Like someone got that from me. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure there's a few more people out there that call him Spiethy, but
What is this, hockey?
right,
Put a Y
Kevy,
on the end of your
Petey,
name, and
right,
that's your nickname. Yeah.
Petey,
No, yeah,
Kevy.
no. Looking forward to it. I loved having Shooter McGavin, Christopher McDonald, the actor, on our podcast. That was fun. Big Bills fan. Grew up in Central New York, so you know, everybody go out there and check it out, and maybe we'll talk about it again when I watch it.
Yep, big Bills. They call it a scrimmage. I don't know if it's a scrimmage at the stadium coming up on Friday.
Return of the blue and red. It's just a practice.
Yeah, and then Andy and I will be with you after that to get you updated on everything that went down at Highmark Stadium, the last return of the blue and the red at the old Highmark Stadium.
And perhaps we get an update on some of the injured guys, Max Hairston, etc. So we'll get with you again Friday night. Then they've got Saturday off, and then a later practice out here at Fisher on Sunday. So we'll have plenty of time to get you caught up on everything else that's gone on the rest of the week here at Bill's training camp.
As always, everyone, thanks for joining us.